All right, today I'm going to attempt to program in some frequencies into this RadioShack Pro-2036. There is a similar model from Uniden, and it looks very much like this. I believe it's a 200 channel scanner, and I'm going to enter frequencies from this communications resource availability worksheet, and it just happens to be uh, FRS and GMRS frequencies. Pretty quick, I think. Maybe add a couple other things in here, maybe some MURS and some ham radio, but specifically try to get some program frequencies here in the memory so I have something to scan and test this device. I'm retesting it again. Normally it seems to kind of voltage drop on any particular wall wart. Right now it's plugged into a 3 amp 12 volt power supply above that's also shared with other radios, but we're going to see if it holds it. It's got a 3 amp draw, so that's more than the usual 1,000, 2,000, I guess, milliamp on the wall warts. But I want to give it a shot, see how long it lasts. The memory battery on this is dead, so yes, every time you unplug it, it has to be reprogrammed. So less than 30 channels, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. So I'm going to start, and I sometimes when I redo this on certain scanners, I just start with channel number 1, so it's congruent with the list that I'm using. For instance, FRS and GMRS, and that's where I'm going to start. Probably add MURS after that, and then maybe some ham radio frequencies. Right now, there is a 2-meter repeater displayed. It's 145.430, and I don't know if that's too bright. That's definitely not bright enough, but that's the local big repeater that we use, and often Thursday nights you'll hear net. Throughout the week you'll hear conversation on that frequency. I don't like that. I like it as bright as can be. It shows up really bright on the camera, but it's not so bright here in person. But we'll ignore the RAS machine for a minute until we get to that point. So basically all you do is you just pick a channel, you enter in the frequency in megahertz. I think this might stretch up into the gigahertz, but we're going to start with the decimal point there at 462, and then we're going to enter in the 5625, and it shows 12.5 kilohertz spacing. So I think that's appropriate for that particular band. I guess it's going to have to be. I don't really have much of a choice. Then all we do is we just go to the next channel and program in the next frequency. And this is pretty easy because you can, for the next 6 or 7 channels, it's going to be 462 megahertz. It goes all the way up to channel 7 in this particular frequency range, I guess. I've already forgotten. I'm on channel 2, so 5875. It's pretty easy for me to forget where I am, even though there's a list in front of me, and I should have a marker to figure out where I am without having to look at the channel or what line I'm on. If I do this wrong, you can call me out, and it's pretty much that easy. Let's see here if I can change this. Yes. 5625, 5875, 61. That's what I like about this particular VFI knob. You can select it to work the memories or the frequency in megahertz, or down to the kilohertz, that is. But we'll go up to channel 4 here. And realistically, while I'm here, it's kind of low light. I got one lamp behind me. Sometimes I got to use this and cheat. And it shows up a lot on the camera, but not so much here in the... Okay, so I don't have to set that for every memory. That's convenient. But you set the lockout for each memory, I believe. But anyways, that's convenient. All right, channel 4, 462. Let me adjust my glasses again. 6375. And this is convenient also to have an additional receiver. For instance, this particular spectrum. And if I'm using one radio, say if I'm using something for GMRS or ham radio, I can scan through this and listen to other stations as they pass by. And depending on the antenna, it's not on the proper antenna right now. It's temporarily on a dipole for 2 meters, and I could quickly switch it out. There's a quarter wave over there where I've moved it, and it's out of service. It's just not plugged in anything, but I could switch it over to that. Excuse me. I could switch it over to that, and it would be easier to hear the spectrum. 462, 6625. It's a little dry in here. That's on purpose. This is channel 6875. Others are faster at this. I am not. Back up there. I know a guy that has this down pat from memory. So I'm a little envious having to do this every time with a piece of paper. And how convenient that is. Anyways, I have a cup of coffee to help me stay a little hydrated. Although all the caffeine is actually a water retainer, I think. So we've changed since we've gone to FRS channel number 8 up to 467 megahertz. And essentially we'll repeat these. Meaning the frequency in kilohertz. It'll cycle back. These are, I think they're in between the repeater frequencies that we'll get to here in just a little bit. That was it. Okay, yeah. 9, 467. And I'm distracted here trying to explain this as I go along. 5875. What I was trying to say was I need to switch to the other antenna because I think it will receive better with the spectrum, and it usually does. But I'm not going to take time to do it right away. I want to do this first so that I know that I'll have something in here for the duration to test. What do you mean error? C467. I shouldn't have pushed that channel first. I should have pushed enter first and then change the channel. So little flubs like that are kind of easy to do, but the more you do this, the easier it gets. You really need practice on these things anyway. Channel 12, 6625. See, I've already skipped one. 6125 is channel 10. So channel 11 should be 66. 6375. 6375. Enter. Why aren't you entering 12? Huh. There it is. Sticky keys, probably. 467, 6875, 6875. And it helps me sometimes to say these out loud. 7125. All right, now we're getting into the repeater channels, and that was the half watt FRS channels that we just screamed through here. Now it's time to scream through the next ones. 462 again, 5500, or some people just say 550, but this one covers a little bit more than that, as you can see on the screen. It gets down to the get down to the hertz. If my math is mathing, 62.4 575, and you don't have to put all the zeros. 15 is 550, 16 is 575, 17 is 600, 62, and not all characters. Enter. All right, just a few more channels here, and I've turned the page, and this is basically what a worksheet looks like. Forgive the glow. I try to protect these in plastics because we have a sprinkler, overhead sprinkler for fire suppression in each room. Just in case one might weep, it might go off because there's an actual fire. It hasn't done it because it's been in another apartment yet, but we're on the bottom floor, so it can't hurt to protect it from dripping above for whatever silly reason there may be. Just a few more moments. Where am I at? 19,650. And unfortunately, we're not hearing any GMRS traffic right now, so testing might be a little delayed. 650. See, I can look at these channels. It says 19. It's already in there, so that should have been 675. So it will help you to not, other than creating errors, it won't copy. And sometimes some of these will allow you to copy or duplicate channels if you want. But it's really not necessary. Why would you have two of the same channels in there? Unless you're like some knuckleheads who like to put in frequencies. Same frequency, different tones. That's because there's a tone, and this one can have a tone board placed in it. It does not have it. And that'd be the only reason why I think you put in the same frequency in two different channels, because you would wish to, hear different tones from different stations on the same frequencies. But why would you want to do all that with bothering with a tone receiver when you can just run an open squelch or carrier squelch? That is, you hear everybody anyways. I mean, yes, you could lock out most stations with a tone squelch, but if more than one station or more than one group is using tone squelch to transmit with, you'd want to hear everybody anyways. So at that rate, we have what we need for the family radio service. I'd like to go back. I almost want to go in there and put in all of the business frequencies as well, but I'm not going to do that at this juncture. What I want to do is put in some of the pertinent personal use type frequencies, which would collaborate with some of the activity around here. Better half and I, we use the green dot, and that is channel 5 in this spectrum. See, it's already, for me, it's already off. That's channel 1, channel 2, and channel 3. So 154, 940, right? No, 151, 940. It's still confusing to me. At 151 megahertz, or it used to be, you'd hear everything at 154 megahertz. But for this, I guess it's where they were just making room. And they have two channels at 154 megahertz. Should be 570. Yep. I almost put in the next frequency, which is on the list, but these are down the list because it's a different frequency in megahertz. Well, the very next one after that, which was purple dot at some point, channel 3. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 channels between MURS channel 3 and MURS channel 4 on this list. And this list, I think, reflects basically the Motorola setup. for their VHF business itinerant type frequencies. You buy a Motorola out of the box and turn it on. Once it's charged, you'll get 16 or so many channels that are already pre-programmed. I think that's a list of 16. I don't have. See, even some the railroad agrees. But anyways, yeah, that channel configuration out of the box for 16 channel radio seems like, and a lot of those like that. The UHF has probably 30 or 40 plus channels, and I don't have them listed here. I just had the frequencies listed just for brevity and personal consumption. If I wanted to, I could skip all the way up to bank C. And if I wanted to, I could make this a priority frequency. I can go in and make this the secondary. What is it? Is that right? If it's not right, it doesn't matter. This is just for whatever. And this one I have a problem with. Now, observe how I put it in. This is for 220, 1.25 meters, but watch. It changes it a little bit, and it will hear that little bit of difference. It will hear that repeater, but no matter how I set the kilohertz split, and the only other option is 2.5 kilohertz other than 12.5 kilohertz. This is where it sits. So for now, that's okay. Here's another one, local to me. Whoops. I think there's a clear function. I'm not sure. But anyways, it's on the same building. And these are right across the interstate from me. So it won't be a problem to hear those. How about if you need information, you go to the 511, which is up in Hanover. Whether or not I can hear it is debatable, but it's on that antenna where I can hear it with the Kenwood TR9000. Anyways, let us go into scan mode. And it's so dark in here, I can't really tell. Then we can activate the other memory banks. There's only 10, so that would be 200 channels, I think, at 20 channels per. But anyways, sorry.
15 knots.
For example, and that's across town.
Monday night, southwind
So not bad.
10 to 15 knots, becoming northwest after midnight. Gusts up to 20 knots. Waves 2 to 3 feet.
And that's far cry better than having just the rubber antenna and an elbow on the back. The other antennas away from the radios and electronics, they hear better. So if you have any problems with the reception, you could always just move your antennas away from other electronics, which is key anyways. And if you have, for instance, computers with wired keyboards, I don't think the wireless or Bluetooth count. Okay.
Cross streets are West Lock Lane and Bunting Avenue. On Channel 2. Time out. 10:46.
Must be near the Diamond. Bunting Avenue. Anyways, I forgot where I was. Oh, keyboards. Since they're plugged into the computers, be it laptops or desktops, they radiate like antennas. And that's why you have to move antennas away from keyboards. Wired mouse do the same thing on some of the older computers. So, if you're using something old enough to program your old radios, or something earlier than, say, Windows 10, maybe something as early as Windows 7, and you plug it into the device, those aren't really shielded very well, so they just radiate. Just a piece of advice. And I've done some changes around here because I've had some time, and I've had some time, and I have relocated some things. I guess it would help to lock this before I let it go, but I have pulled things off the other desk, and I've decided to reorganize and fill up some cubbies here, and It's a weird low angle, but still different ways to use the shack. I have dropped down the CM300 from the top shelf and replaced it with other things. But now everything is kind of more in camera shot when I need it, and it's more appropriate for the net settings and conversations and whatnot. But still, that's a little out of shot. But that's because the phone is sideways, and sometimes I just turn it on its end and use it for that. But anyways, that's programming for this. Hopefully it will work out, and it will not have a voltage drop, won't suffer a voltage drop. It's plugged in directly here now. This is just a cigarette lighter plug. There is no kind of capacitance, I don't think. The only thing I can think of, there's no restriction from this. This is fully 3 amps, and this is a 3 amp power supply right on top of that. That's what I use to run the RadioShack Business Band radio. I use it also on the TR9000 right here. And now it's running the 2036 down below, right down here. So we'll see how it works. If anything changes for the better or for the worse, I'll let you know. Appreciate you watching.